Yeah, where are we?
Proverbs 12.
Yeah. Well, we're on Proverbs 13, but as always, I will go over Proverbs 12 again. Just kind of recap. Or will I?
Oh.
I don't know why this keeps doing that. Sean's a tech guy. He won't figure it out. Just kidding. So anyway, whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish. In this case, it doesn't mean like brutish, big, muscly, can beat people up. Brutish in the Hebrew literally means stupidity. So if you don't like somebody teaching you or somebody telling you when you've done something wrong or you're doing something the wrong way, it's kind of dumb, is what the Bible's saying. And if you wonder why we have signs like don't swim in the toilets on airplanes and touching wires causes instant death and a $200 fine, and guys with hats and sunglasses but using their hands, just the things that you see and you're like, why do these even exist? It's because stupid people exist. They are out there. And a good man obtaineth favor of the Lord, but a man of wicked devices will he condemn. A man shall not be established by wickedness, but the root of righteousness shall not be removed. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones. So wives, don't make your husbands ashamed. Husbands, don't, be so susceptible that your wives can make you ashamed. I do like this picture, I don't know why, of the dude in his wedding photo just covering his wife's face with the phone. I thought that was funny. And of course we all know the Will Smith story recently. It's not good. She cheated on him openly, didn't even apologize to it. His wife did. And was like, well, I didn't feel like you liked me enough anymore or something. Just live TV on Oprah, put their laundry out for everybody to see. Poor Will Smith's just sitting there like, I don't know what to do. I guess they're okay now, which is good, but it's a pretty weird thing. The thoughts of the righteous are right, but the counsels of the wicked are deceit. The words of the wicked are to lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright shall deliver them. The wicked are overthrown and are not, but the house of the righteous shall stand. If you ever wonder if it's better to be good or bad, just read Proverbs, because about every 5 verses it'll tell you the difference between a righteous and a wicked, what's going to happen. One's rooted, one is not. One's house is going to stand, the other is not. This is the one thing you can be sure about in Christianity. It wins in the end. So you can just keep on going out to the end, no matter the fight, no matter the struggle. It is the one sure bet. When God comes back, that's it. It's victory for everybody who is a Christian for eternity. And I want to be on that side. A man shall be commended according to his wisdom, but he that is of a perverse heart shall be despised. He that is despised and hath a servant is better than he that honoreth himself and lacketh bread. So remember, this one kind of stumped me a little bit on 9. He that is despised, so it's not good to be despised, because right before it says you have a perverse heart. And perverse in this case just means make crooked or pervert, which just means not in the right direction, do wickedly, do wrong. If you have a perverse heart, he that is despised and hath a servant is better than he that honoreth himself and lacketh bread. So I was saying, is it better to be perverse than to be hungry, or to serve a perverse person than to go hungry? And I read it, looked over it, and kind of wondering what was going on. But I missed a big key factor, and this happens a lot, I think, in a lot of people with Bible studies or reading it themselves. It's real simple. Honoreth himself. Himself. Honoreth himself. So if you have too much pride when you're needing to go ask for it, then a guy who doesn't ask God for anything, or a guy that is perverse, but he has someone following him. So think of like a bad guy with a little bit of following. They're still better than someone so proud that they're poor. Like, well, at least I'm not following that guy. I'm starving and I'm alone. I don't have a house. I don't have food or anything. It's kind of what it's saying here. It's better to be the guys on the right or the left than the guys on the right, pretty much. And that's saying something. But he shouldn't be either. This is just saying honoreth himself. A righteous man regardeth the life of his beast, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. If you ever want a Bible verse that tells you to be kind to your animals or take care of your animals, there you go. You got one. He that tilleth his land shall be satisfied with bread, but he that followeth vain persons is void of understanding. The wicked desireth the net of evil men, but the root of the righteous yieldeth fruit. So what is the difference between a net and a root? Really easy. A net, you just go take fish, something that's already existing, from a place and bring it to yours. A root, you plant it, doesn't move, doesn't go anywhere, and depending on how you take care of that root is what's going to yield the fruit from it. So the wicked go out. When you think about how the wicked people get rich, they take from other people in some way through business deals by ripping them off, or just stealing, racketeering, just setting up the odds in their favor to where everybody else has to suffer for them to get that money. They want the net of the evil, but the root of the righteous yieldeth fruit. You plant something down, you don't go their way, you do everything your way, more so in the labor sense, then you get the work of your reward. And we'll get into that a little bit later on. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, but the just shall come out of trouble. The wicked is snared by the transgression of his lips, so he talks himself into the snare. Think Coyote and Roadrunner. Coyote always tries to catch Roadrunner. He sets up these big traps from Acme and goes around doing all these different things and always ends up either falling off the cliff himself or catching himself in his own traps. Never gets the Roadrunner. Same thing is going to happen to the wicked people. A man shall be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth, and the recompense of a man's hands shall be rendered unto him. So this is saying, if you do go out and you do good works, you will have the recompense from your own hands. That is biblical. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes. You ever wonder why this just keeps talking about some people that you try to reprove don't like you, or they don't want to be reproved, and the Bible just called them stupid earlier in the first one. They don't like reproof. They don't like to be corrected. That is because 15, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes. You're not telling him a new and improved way to do it if he's not open to it. He thinks he's right, and you think you're right, and one of you is maybe more right than the other, but that's why they don't always take it. That's why when you start, I know in my sense, I try to talk to other people about Christianity, or they'll ask me questions about it and I'll give them answers. And they're like, no, I think the universal soup theory is better. I'm like, okay. Those of you who don't know what that is, it was like when the Big Bang happened and then some bacteria got in and made a asteroidal soup up in the air, just planets and dust and all that. And that made us, somewhere along the lines. So yeah, sure, I've dabbled in looking into that back in the day. I was like, well, what really happened? But even when I wasn't super following Christianity or was kind of on the fence about believing and all that, I still didn't go that route. So I'm like, no, that's silly. That one's done. I'm sorry, atheists. I don't believe that one either. I'm just really am on the fence. As on the fence as you can get. But of course, with the right chastisement and the right God coming down on me, you kind of see more so that a lot of stuff leads to a creator than to just random chance happening perfectly a million times everywhere to make a system and a fully functioning biome for everyone. But a fool's wrath is presently known, but a prudent man covereth shame. He that speaketh the truth sheweth forth righteousness, but a false witness deceit. There is that speaketh like the piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. Don't let your words hurt people, let your words help people. Because things that you say, some people, you can say a lot of things and cause a lot of hurt that not even time itself can amend. But you can also say a lot of things, the tongue of the wise, that can help people. And they'll remember what you said to them all throughout their life, and it'll help them a few times. They'll always recall your words again. The lip of truth shall be established forever. Think about what was true 1,000 years ago. About 99% of that is still true right now. So you couldn't say that we'll never fly a couple of years ago, and now we are flying. So obviously things like that aren't really applicable, but fire burns has been true since the first fire ever burned somebody. It's just, the lip of truth shall be established forever, and truths will never change no matter what. But a lying tongue is but for a moment. Think about but for a moment with the lies. All of this, like DDT is good for you. All these good 30s and 40s ads. The smooth taste expectant mothers crave. Nicotine cigarettes. It's one of my favorite ones. And then vitamin donuts. I wish that one would come back. I wish that one were true. Might be onto something there. And then 7-Up. We have the youngest customers in the business. Just give it to your child, left and right, many as they want. So these things that were true before, that seem silly to us now, but just wait about another 50 years and see what ads we're looking at. I'm going to do the same thing 30 years from now, and I'm going to use today's ads for it. Because you're going to find out there's a lot of them being lied to. A lot of us are. Deceit is in the heart of them that imagine evil, but to the counselors of peace is joy. There shall no evil happen to the just. What if you're a Christian and you get cancer? This just says there shall no evil happen to the just. What about that? Are you unjust if you got cancer? No. While cancer is bad, it is more of a bodily... When you hear evil, you think about all these things like cancer and sickness, car wrecks, murders. This isn't necessarily evil as much as unfortunate chastisement or something, or just naturally happen. I mean, one of the weirdest things in the Bible is people think that bad things aren't supposed to happen to us if we're Christian. This is simply not true. Sometimes bad things can happen, but if you do have the faith, you come out of it, and now you're stronger because those bad things happen to you. But when you think about evil, think about like curses. Think about spells. Think about just evil things that can happen to you more in a spiritual sense. But if you're just, you'll never be in those positions for any of that thing to happen. When I hear evil, I view it a lot more in the spiritual sense than opposed to just a physical sense.
It's the opposite of good.
It is the opposite of
They
good.
say God does evil to people.
Yeah, and
So
God
he's doing
does not
stuff to
do
people
evil.
that ain't good because they deserve it.
Exactly. So, but the wicked shall be filled with mischief, and boy aren't they. Lying lips are abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. A prudent man concealeth knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaimeth foolishness. So concealeth knowledge. If you know some things, information is the most valuable commodity that exists. Every business person will tell you. All the billionaires will tell you. Their information is way more valuable than, what their company is or the product they're selling. Because how are they going to know what to do or know when to move or know what to move when and where if they don't know the information, if they don't know what's happening? People pay a lot of money for information. There are wars being fought right now, big ones, that are strictly information. No one's getting shot. Well, a couple people are getting shot. But it's not a big force on force. It is all an espionage, and it is all under the wraps. And you'll never hear about any of it. All over information. But the heart of fools proclaimeth foolishness. Stupid people will let you know it, though. They don't really hide their secrets or their knowledge. I'm not saying keep secrets for forever because the Bible said so or anything. But I'm just saying if, think Nazi Germany, because we might be heading something like that again. If you knew where a bunch of people were hiding out, don't tell the Germans. Be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. That's an okay lie you can tell in the Bible. Remember I went over the big thing about lies, and certain lies are okay. Not God even liked the one lie, one or two of them. But I know it's weird to say, like, God likes some lies. But read some of the stuff we've been reading. Read Joshua, where the harlot lied and said the men weren't there, and they went back to Joshua. Read a lot of those. But yeah, different examples of that. The hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute. Heaviness in the heart of man maketh it stoop, but a good word maketh it glad. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them. So with this one, the hand of the diligent shall bear rule. That's fine. If someone works 10 times harder than me, they probably deserve to be my boss, or probably deserve a little bit more than me from that because they put in more time, effort, and knowledge into trying to understand and better it. Some of these people, I'm okay with following. Some people know more about the Bible with me. I'm okay with letting them teach me things. Some people are better at MMA or fighting than me. I know that, and I go in there and I learn from them. But it's important, not as leaders, as when you are followers, you keep them from turning to the way of the wicked that seduceth them. So a captain of the ship, you should trust your captain. You should listen to him, obey him, and just have faith that he's making the right decisions. Unless he's taking you right towards a bunch of sirens. Then you need to be like, hey, wake up, we're not following you, let's get it back together. So it's a symbiotic relationship. You help the leaders, and the leaders will help all the followers. The slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting, but the substance of a diligent man is precious. So if you went out and you worked for your food, believe me, it does taste a lot better than if you just get something you got from the store. And this isn't just meaning for hunting, this is for everything in life. If you've earned something, if you've worked for it and put forth the effort, you're going to appreciate it a lot more than if you didn't. You heard the saying with money, easy come, easy go. This is the biblical version of easy come, easy go, and how much you're going to appreciate that. In the way of righteousness is life, and in the pathway thereof there is no death. So even before Jesus came and taught everybody and did all of his miracles, you had the prophets, and they even spoke of eternal life for the righteous. Now we know that is Jesus through the cross and through his path and his example that he set for us. But back then, they really didn't know Jesus. They heard a Messiah was coming, but they thought he was going to be a warlord and just take over and follow him and everything. You keep saying he was going to be a warlord, but I think it just meant like a big, powerful ruler that's going to deliver the Jewish people from their captivity of Rome and all that. But either way, they knew that in the way of righteousness, there would be no death. And Jesus came to prove that there would be no death through that. All right, this one's a little bit shorter, so I'll move kind of quick. A wise son heareth his father's instruction, but a scorner heareth not rebuke. Again, you don't hear rebuke for that. You just get mad at people trying to correct you. A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth, but the soul of the transgressors shall eat violence. So a wise son heareth his father's instruction. Got a few different examples of this. For one, first picture with the blue, it's kind of like feedback. Like I'm telling you a problem, you're telling me solutions, we try it together and we figure it out, we work together on that. That is a good instruction. The second one, you ever just been chewed out, but like for a reason? Like you do something way wrong, somebody comes like, I can't believe you did it like this is how you're supposed to do it, and you take this here and blah, blah, blah. Those are the times you don't say anything, you just take it all in and make sense of it. This will be the picture right here. They're just babbling, they're making sense of it. That is okay. But down here, if people are just chewing you out for no reason, like, you're the worst worker ever, blah, 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 I can't believe you did this, you do this every shift, I can't do this because of that, and they're not making any sense, and they're just mad, and what they're saying is not even right, or they don't have all the information to understand why you did it that way, you don't have to listen to that. That is not instruction. That is not you being a scorner because you're not hearing the rebuke. That's just not even really a rebuke. That's just somebody yelling at you for no reason, and that doesn't do anybody any good. But even if you're getting chewed out a little bit, if it's for a good reason and they're trying to teach you and help you by chewing you out, that's okay. You can listen to that. He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, but he that openeth wide his lips shall have destruction. The soul of the sluggard desireth and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life. Has there ever been a time where you just didn't say anything because you were scared to say anything, but you're alive now because of it? Or maybe you didn't get beat up because of it. I don't say alive or anything. I think of a lot of times where situations where sometimes it's just better to keep your mouth shut and move on rather than to get involved with certain things. And you can see all the old Roman quotes about silence. Silence is hard to refute. I like that one. And silence can never be misquoted. Also a good one. But, yeah, the soul of the sluggard desireth and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. So there you have rich people working hard and poor people being lazy. And that's a weird stigma, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. A righteous man hateth lying, but a wicked man is loathsome and cometh to shame. Righteousness keepeth him that is upright in the way, but wickedness overthroweth the sinner. So a righteous man hateth lying. Here we go with lying again, because I just said a little bit earlier, it's okay to do that sometimes. Joshua wasn't happy that they lied, but he was happy that his servants got away because of it. And the person that lied ended up getting to be one of the descendants of the Messiah, of Jesus. But a righteous man hateth lying. Why? Why would you hate lying? What's a reason to hate lies?
They lie to you once, they're going to lie to you again.
Why do they hurt?
It can destroy you.
Can destroy you, yeah. Why is that? I wonder what makes... I think it crosses over into the pain realm right when you believe that something is true and then find out it's not. But to find out it's not, first you have to believe it's true. So you get to the whole Russian statement from back in the day, trust but verify. You ever heard that? Yeah, so a righteous man hateth lying. Think of back in the day, you had to give your word to people. You didn't have a picture to prove something. You didn't have, documentation a lot. You just had your word. And if you break it once, that person could spread it to everybody. Now no one will trust you. No one will do business with you. And back then, that could have been a death sentence. Back then, if you lied to somebody, you gave your word and didn't follow through, well, this is an extreme example. They did something where they could label you something and you had to put it on your houses, your businesses, and everything like that. Because one time a dude gave his word, and this is back in the day, I just read something about it, and the guy didn't follow through with it. So the other dude got mad and challenged him to a duel, and he refused to duel him. So everything he had to get a steel placard that said, here lives so-so-so, a coward who refused to duel with so-and-so-and-so, on date so-and-so-and-so, for breaking word breaker and all that. And by law, he had everything he owned, he had to put that placard on. It's like, man, they really took lying seriously and took all that back then. If we brought stuff like that back, I don't know, people probably look at it like trophies or achievements. And just like, look all I got on my house. But it's like, you really didn't lie back then. And I think you should kind of bring that back a little bit. Righteousness keepeth him that is upright in the way, but wickedness overthroweth the sinner. There is that maketh himself rich, yet hath nothing, and there is that maketh himself poor, yet hath great riches. The ransom of a man's life are his riches, but the poor heareth not rebuke. So here you have a good example of the 4 different classes that I've put them into. People on the top left, they are rich and they're happy. They have a family, they probably worked real hard their whole life, retired, made a lot of good decisions. Now they get to sail around on a boat. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly good and okay that they did that, because they are rich and they are happy. And then you have the top right. Dude has a lot of money. Seems kind of sad though. I know a lot of super rich people, they put on a good show, but you ever talk to them one-on-one, they're pretty miserable. They don't really like their lives going on. And a lot of it's just because when you're poor, nobody's competing to be poorer than you. When you're rich, you constantly have a struggle, and people think of like fishing. You ever been fishing with a worm, and the little fish would come just take little bites out of the worm? You got to fight that off constantly when you're at a super millionaire level of richness. And it's just miserable to a lot of people. They don't like it. They don't like the competition. Some people thrive under that. Some people love it. Those are the ones you got to watch out for, though, because those are the people that'll do anything to keep their treasures and all that alive. You have the bottom left. You have a homeless poor person, super happy. I've met a lot of them that chose to be homeless. Hung out with a lot of gypsies in Asheville one time. They were homeless. I thought it was pretty cool and wild, but I wanted to just really see what it's like to be them. I had nothing to do for the rest of the night, so I was like, I'm just going to hang out with you guys all night. And a lot of them, I found out, they wanted to be that way. They had houses in like North Dakota, but they only lived in them about 2 months a year because they just like traveling around and being homeless to see where we're going to end up this year. Because I asked them, I was like, what do you do when it gets cold? And they're like, oh, we go home. I was like, oh, so you're just out here poor with no money. I was like, how do you get back home? They're like, we always find a way, man. It's like, it's crazy. Just get around with a truck or something. Like, all right, whatever. But they're happy, so don't always assume that some people aren't. Then you have the homeless people that aren't happy. And I've met some of those too. And you never know somebody's story before you judge them. Some people lost their entire family and then they went to stay. One guy I met, his daughter died and he was dealing with it pretty bad, so he moved back in with his parents, to his mom and dad, and he was like 40, 50 or something like that. To move back in with them to kind of, get it together. And then his mom died. I mean, he didn't have a dad. His dad died way before that. Then his mom died. So, well, fine. She had a lot of her stuff tied up in loans and all that. Immediately lost that after selling his house and everything to do that. Now, it's not that he couldn't go to get a job. It's that he really didn't have anything but a big, huge payment. So no banks would give him money or open out an account or nothing. Had creditors coming at him all the time. And no one would really hire him because he didn't really have his documentation because he owed so much on everything. He was just like the worst case scenario for all that. It just happened quick, like within 3 months. Boom, homeless. No record, no birth certificate and all that. His mom, he didn't know what she'd done with all of it. I was like, you should put in a little bit more responsible during your life, but just tragedy, back-to-back tragedy, boom, on the streets. He wasn't having too good of a time, but, I mean, nothing I could do really. I hung out with him, heard his story and all that, but some people have it a lot harder than you think when they're out there. Even though some people choose to live like that, others don't. So no matter rich or poor, the ransom of a man's life are his riches. So what are your riches? What's going to be the ransom of your life? The light of the righteous rejoiceth, but the lamp of the wicked shall be put out. Only by pride cometh contention, but the well advised is wisdom. Remember we talked about a counsel and advisors. If you want to get good at something, hang out with people that are good at that and you're going to get better at it. Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. Here we're talking about this again. Hope deferred maketh the heart sick, but when the desire cometh, it is a tree of life. So here, vanity goes into Proverbs 26, and this means the getting of treasures by a lying tongue is vapor driven away. It's kind of what it means in Hebrew. So, if you get it by lying, like we were talking about earlier, those people that'll do anything for the money, and while lying is bad, if they lied to get all their wealth and lied to get all their riches, it's not going to last. If you tell people, oh, invest in my business, I'm going to make you a whole lot of money, I got this going and that going, and it's all lies. They invest in you, and there was no business to begin with and all of that. The money goes away quick, you're found out quick, and now you got to come up with a whole new scheme. Rarely can a con man run the same con their entire lives. They constantly have to be moving and adapting and all of that. But he that gathereth by labor shall increase. Labor is the value of all wealth. Before coins, before even currency existed, you traded labor for wealth, whatever you had, whether it be food, whether it be shelter, whatever it would be, whatever you worked for is what you got. What was one of the very first things that Hitler did when he took over Nazi Germany? It's the first two things. Rule 1 and 2. Don't think I'm weird for knowing this, but first thing he did was he outlawed all corrupt media. So no more porn, no more weird music, no more oddly published books and adult novels. He had them all collected and burned because they were corrupting the mind of the youth, as he would say. And then the second thing he did was he outlawed usury. What is usury? Yeah, it's interest. I just went and bought a property. I took out a loan, and I got to pay back a little bit more from that. Where did that little bit more come from? Vapor. It came out of nowhere. It didn't exist without a company. there was no labor to back that little bit that was made from it. So if somebody gets into loans and they take out, let's say, $50,000 and they got to pay back $60,000, where did that $10,000 come from? It came from the air. And that is why we're trillions of dollars in debt. That is why we don't have enough gold or currency to back our debt or even come close to all of that. And that is why Hitler outlawed it and brought back labor-based currency. And immediately what happened to Germany's tanked economy ruined by World War I? It was fixed almost overnight. Everybody had jobs again, so there was all kinds of labor programs. Everybody started working. And now there's no more homeless, starving people. Everybody had food and everybody had a job. Easy fix. Outlaw usury. People find a way, I promise. But couldn't have somebody not on the world banking system. So guess who else wasn't on the world banking system recently? Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan. Just follow our wars. You'll figure it out. Who's...
By the way, that Microsoft, that patent 060606,
Yeah.
That's trying to be a digital currency based on labor as well. Which is actually a good idea, but if it went for the Bible, warning us about it.
It's a good idea, except for it's kind of like global steroid communism, because somebody's got to control who gets how much of that money and where it's going. And you can do it just by going. So that's what's scary about me. And it can't be tracked, although I'm sure they'll put tracking systems on it and everything. Either way, whoso despiseth the word shall be destroyed, but he that feareth the commandment shall be rewarded. The law of the wise is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. Good understanding giveth favor, but the way of transgressors is hard. Every prudent man dealeth with knowledge, but a fool layeth open his folly. So if you are a fool, you're dumb for everybody to see. You're silly for everybody to know. Like this test, for example. It's a good idea. Should put one of those out somewhere. A wicked messenger falleth into mischief, but a faithful ambassador is health. Poverty and shame shall be to him that refuseth instruction, but he that regardeth reproof shall be honored. Anybody hear about the lady who went on the Olympic stage and protested America recently? On the Olympic stage, you had the whole world watching you. And that's when you thought it would be a good time to badmouth your own country. It is okay. It's not okay, but if you're going to badmouth your own country, do it in your own country to your own countrymen. All right, let's look at the Dixie Chicks, for example. Pretty popular. Where did they go? Nobody knows, right? They did a show in Iraq or somewhere across the seas and started talking bad about America while they were in another country. Then they came back to America. What did you expect to happen? They lost their contracts. They lost everything. They were pretty much buried from that. You can talk bad about this church if we're in here and you go to this church. The minute you're not a member of this church, you start talking bad about it. Now, there's a little bit of a problem. Like, we need to figure that out. That lady up top, whatever. I don't think she should ever be allowed to compete again. But that's just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. Second lady on the bottom. Anybody hear of her? No. This one was recently. But of course you didn't hear about her, because she just broke the 400-meter hurdle for women's. I broke the record. World records. Never done before. She did it in prelims. In her post-Olympic thing interview, she just said, I just want to give the glory to God because He did all of this. I just have a childlike faith that everything's going to work out, and I just broke the world record. Thank my trainers, but mostly thank God. It's as easy as that. She's the superstar and the favorite person in the Olympics now from everybody. She's getting all the praise. Which do you think was a better idea? Do you want to badmouth the country or just thank God? She didn't even mention the country. She just said, oh, thank God, That's it. Thank God, thank my trainer. Now she's a celebrity and she can get whatever deal she wants from any American ever. She can have American Airlines sponsor her entire trip over there, stay in the best American everything, just by not saying something bad about America. Top person, good luck with the rest of your life. I hope the protests are fun. It's your choice. It's however you want to represent yourself. A faithful ambassador is health. The desire accomplisheth is sweet to the soul, but it is abomination of fools to depart from evil. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. So let's test your all's choice of companions here. Who would you rather be on your side in a fight? Who would you rather fight, actually? The team on the left or the team on the top right? Top left or top right? Fist fight.
Pass.
Choices. So I would rather fight all the dudes on the right at the same time than two of the dudes on the left, because they are the best MMA fighters in the world. All of them, like in one picture. Like that's the dream team that could kill anybody. One of those guys could probably beat up all those dudes one at a time, back to back, no problem, within like 20 minutes. The more you know, right? You're looking at it, just some dudes in t-shirts, you wouldn't know. So what about a gunfight? Like now it's getting serious. Now they're coming for your family. You gotta arm up, strap up, get this thing going. Who do you want to be on your side? Team on the left or the team on the right? The left. You pick some Army Rangers over some high school thug nasties. Yeah, me too. Okay, so it's just however you want to go in life and apply it with everything. You got to pick your teams. Are you always going to have access to the Army Rangers, the bat guys, or the best fighters in the world? No, but you can always find them that are better than you, and you can learn from them and get it better. So choose the companions wisely. Evil pursueth sinners, but to the righteous good shall be repaid. A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. Much food is in the tillage of the poor, but there is that destroyeth for want of judgment. So a good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. He builds things that are just going to last to his grandchildren. Why doesn't it say children's 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 children?
Well, because your children's children may throw it all away.
Even back in those days, especially back in those days, a lot of the Proverbs are still alive. Wealth is 3 generations long, 90% of the time. So there are some very few families, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, all these people that have broken that cycle and got so much money, their wealth's probably not going to run out for a very, very long time. They've set it up to where there's always be superpowers. But in all countries, that is pretty much the understanding. If somebody becomes like a billionaire or millionaire, you got 3 generations until it's back down to normal people again, if you don't teach them right. But a good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. Don't just work for you, work for after you, I guess. He that spareth his rod hateth his son. Ooh, there it is, Ezra. Spare the rod, spoil the child. That's where you get that from. But he that loveth him chasteneth him betimes. And betimes here just means early at any task. You don't let them keep digging their hole. You find out they're doing something wrong and you stop it right then, and then you beat them before they keep making too many mistakes. The righteous eateth to the satisfying of his soul, but the belly of the wicked shall want. This is a good technique I found for you and Jenny, for him. Like, this is a double parent spanking. You hit, she hits. You hit, she hits. Oh, yeah. You should spank as a family as well as live as a family and eat as a family and all that. Anyways, that was it. Sorry if we went on a little long, but we started late, so my bad.
Very good.
Thank you.